G'day, it's Heath here from PickingLessons.com. In this mandolin lesson, we're going to take a look at a great Celtic tune called The Rolling Waves. The Rolling Waves is in the key of D, and it's a jig time, so it's in 6/8 time. And just a quick refresher, 6/8 time has 6/8 notes of the bar with 2 quarter note pulses. So 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2 and a. So 6/8 time. In a moment, we're going to play through part A of the tune, and we're going to break down each measure and have a look at how we do that. If you head on over to PickingLessons.com, you'll find yourself a copy of the tab for the arrangement, and you'll also find the second part of this lesson where we take a look at part B and break that down. You'll also find some play along and backing tracks at 3 tempos. So as you're working on the tune, you can use those tracks to help you improve your fluency and your tempo. PickingLessons.com. All right, we're going to jump straight into part A. Okay, so to kick us off for part A in the Rolling Waves, the first measure is a great example of the 6/8 time signature. So this first measure sounds like this. And we can see that we have the 2 groups of 3/8 notes. So we've got 6/8 notes to the measure, and they're broken into the 2 groupings. So that's our 2 pulses. So 1 and a, 2 and a. So there are variations in the rhythm as we go through, but at the core of a 6/8 time signature, you have the 6/8 notes of the bar. The way we're going to pick a lot of our groupings of 3/8 notes is with a down, up, down. So when we have this example in the first measure where we have 3 notes grouped together, then another 3 notes, the right hand is going to pick down, up, down, down, up, down. The reason that we're going to do that is so we can emphasize the pulse each time we come in on a downstroke. So 1 and a, 2 and a. We have this repeated quite a few times within the tune, that rhythm. So every time we come across that, we're going to try and play down, up, down, down, up, down. It's just going to emphasize that pulse each time we get to the new grouping. 1 and a, 2 and a. All right, it's pretty straightforward. You've only got that 1 note in there, the open string and that first finger on the 2nd fret. Ready, and. Moving on to measure 2. Measure 2 we have. And first of all, we have the quarter note to kick us off to the 8th note in the first beat. So 1 and a. And in this example, this rhythm example, we're going to pick down on the quarter note and then play the 8th note as an upstroke. So whenever we have a quarter note to an 8th note in the rhythm, again, we're going to try and approach it like that, down, up, 1 and a, 1 and a. Then we have the 3/8 notes, which we'll play as the down, up, down. So 1 and a, 2 and a. 3rd and 2nd fingers covering those notes there. Keep an eye on the tab, the marking's in there too. So right hand, down, up, down, up, down. With measure 2, sounds like this. 2 and a, 1 and a, 1 and a. One more time. 2 and a, 1 and a, 2 and a, 1 and a, 2 and a. Measure 3. Measure 3, we have the 2 groupings of 3/8 notes again. This time it sounds like this. 2nd and 1st fingers covering the 4th and 2nd frets. Then you've got the open string there as well. Picking hand, down, up, down, down, up, down. 2 and a. Let's move on to measure 4. Measure 4 again kicks off with the quarter note. 1 and a, 2 and a. Down, up, down, up, down. Okay, and use those 3 fingers there across the 5th, 4th and 2nd frets. Alrighty, so let's play through these first 4 measures of part A. 2 and 1. 1 and 2 and Alright, let's move on to measure 5. In measure 5, we have the same melody as we saw in measure 3. Let's move on. In measure 6, We have the same melody as in measure 2. So let's move on. Let's have a look at the tag here, the final 2 bars before we hit the repeat. Here we have so measure 7. Measure 7, we start off with the 3/8 notes. Again, picking down, up, down. Now here we have a 16th note into 2/8 notes. So we have 2 E and A. We're going to pick this one with a down, up, down, up. Down, up, down, up. Which lets us go into that next downstroke. You could try it a couple of ways. You could try going down, up, down, down, if that's easier. Experiment with that. We'll talk about that a little bit later in part B as well. But here, the example we're going to follow is down, up, down, up. It'll set us up for the next downstroke in the next measure. So measure 7, 2 and A. Picking hand, 2 and A. Down, up, down, down, up, down, up. Gets a little tricky in the 6/8 time signature with the picking sometimes, particularly when we see a rhythm like this one. And this last measure now is the same as actually measure 4. So that was 1 and A, 2 and A. All right, let's play through part A once slowly. 1 and A, 2 and A. 1 and A. And A. Okay, so part A there. Let's finish off this lesson by having a look at part A, but we'll repeat it twice as we do in the tune, and we'll play it just a little bit quicker. 1 and A, 2 and A. Alright, so part A there for the rolling waves. Head on over to pickinglessons.com and you'll find yourself a copy of this tab. You'll find part 2 of this video lesson where we take a look at part B and break it down and practice each measure. Then we'll practice the whole tune at the end of that lesson as well. You've also got the backing tracks and play along tracks at 3 different tempos. As you're getting to know the tune, you can use those to help you practice. Pickinglessons.com, I'll see you there.